My son Michael and my granddaughter Emma systematically manipulated me into signing over my $4.2 million estate and historic Napa Valley vineyard through fabricated dementia claims and forged legal documents while positioning themselves as my devoted caretakers managing my declining mental health, never suspecting they were. Targeting Dr. Eleanor Ellie Whitmore, the former Chief Legal Counsel for the California Department of Aging, who had personally investigated over 300 cases of elder financial abuse and maintained direct relationships with federal prosecutors, estate fraud specialists, and financial crime investigators who could expose their inheritance theft scheme with a single forensic accounting audit that would send them both to federal prison for elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and systematic financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Before I reveal how I systematically documented every forged signature, every fabricated medical assessment, and every manipulated bank transaction, let me paint the picture of what they saw versus the reality they never suspected. This miscalculation was so catastrophic that it would transform their systematic attempt to commit the perfect family inheritance theft into the most thoroughly documented case of elder financial abuse in California state court history. To Michael Whitmore, my 45-year-old son, and Emma Whitmore, my 22-year-old granddaughter, I was just Eleanor Whitmore, a frail 74-year-old woman recovering from a minor stroke, someone living alone in my secluded estate at 1247 Silverado Trail in Street, Helena. I had grown increasingly dependent on family assistance following my recent medical episode at Napa Valley Medical Center. I seemed overwhelmed by the complex financial management of my vineyard operations. Whitmore family vineyards required constant attention. My real estate holdings across 3 counties needed oversight. Investment portfolios worth millions demanded daily monitoring. I clearly needed their dedicated legal guidance and financial expertise. My daily business decisions appeared confusing. Property maintenance seemed beyond my solio's capabilities. Financial planning looked overwhelming during what they presented to the family as my, quote, progressively deteriorating cognitive condition. They positioned themselves as heartbroken family members doing everything possible to protect their beloved mother and grandmother. I was having a tragic final battle with age-related cognitive decline and financial management complications. Or so they wanted everyone to believe. What Michael and Emma never discovered was different. Despite their meticulous 8-month research into elder law, they missed everything important. Michael used his real estate attorney access at Morrison & Associates law firm for research. Emma's utilized her internship credentials at First National Bank of Napa for intelligence gathering. They studied my daily routines. During their increased caring visits, they analyzed my financial portfolio through unauthorized access to my banking records. They observed my decision-making patterns with careful attention. Every interaction was surveillance, disguised as family concern. Eleanor Whitmore had spent 38 years climbing from junior associate to the top of elder law enforcement. I started at San Francisco Legal Aid Society in 1982 as a junior associate. I worked my way up through determination and expertise. My career culminated as Chief Legal Counsel for the California Department of Aging in Sacramento. I had personally investigated over 300 cases of elder financial abuse. Inheritance fraud was my specialty. Systematic family exploitation schemes were my expertise. Legal document manipulation involving elderly victims was CMOM. My daily work. I coordinated with federal law enforcement agencies on major cases. The FBI's White-Collar Crime Division knew me by name. The Secret Service Financial Crimes Task Force had me on speed dial. The Department of Justice Elder Justice Initiative considered me their go-to expert. Major criminal prosecutions resulted in hundreds of convictions for attempted grand theft, elder abuse, and systematic financial crimes against vulnerable adults. I maintained active professional relationships with federal prosecutors, forensic accountants, and estate fraud investigators. Financial crime specialists called me for consultation. Elder law enforcement coordinators sought my expertise. I specialized in exactly the type of systematic financial manipulation that Michael and Emma were. Planning. Wise Bendel. The irony was breathtakingly perfect. It was precisely orchestrated by cosmic justice. The mathematical impossibility of coincidence was staggering. If I had written this as a legal thriller, every editor would have rejected it as too convenient. Here were Michael Whitmore and Emma Whitmore planning systematic inheritance fraud. Michael was a real estate attorney with 12 years of experience at Morrison & Associates law firm. Emma was a finance major with 3 years of banking internship experience at First National Bank of Napa. They were targeting what they perceived as a helpless elderly woman. I was recovering from stroke complications in an isolated vineyard estate. They assumed I had limited professional oversight and minimal legal supervision. They were sitting across the dining room table from Dr. Eleanor Whitmore. I was the architect of the very elder financial abuse detection protocols that federal agencies use to expose inheritance fraud schemes. I designed the legal analysis methodologies that courts relied upon to prove family financial exploitation. I developed the forensic accounting databases that investigators consulted during suspicious asset transfer investigations. My professional relationships would ensure their systematic legal document manipulation scheme would trigger immediate comprehensive forensic investigation. Michael and Emma were attempting inheritance fraud against someone whose entire professional legacy was built on detecting inheritance fraud. They were conducting systematic legal document manipulation against the person who had trained federal investigators. I had personally trained FBI financial crime specialists and elder abuse prosecutors. They were using the precise patterns of estate document forgery that I recognized instantly. Power of attorney abuse was my specialty. Financial exploitation schemes were my area of expertise. Inheritance theft techniques were documented in my case files. They were employing systematic replacement of legitimate estate planning documents with carefully crafted legal instruments. Their fabricated medical assessments claiming my cognitive incapacity were textbook examples. I had seen identical criminal methodologies hundreds of times. Their coordination with financial institutions was standard operating procedure for inheritance fraud. They presented themselves as my legal representatives authorized to make decisions about investment management. Their systematic methodology was identical to criminal patterns I had studied for 3 decades. I had documented, analyzed, and exposed these exact techniques through forensic legal analysis. Their estate planning manipulation techniques matched case studies I had developed for FBI financial crime training programs. The Department of Justice elder abuse investigation courses used my materials. Their family coordination methods followed patterns I had identified in organized inheritance fraud networks. I had collaborated with federal law enforcement agencies on identical cases. Their coordination of systematic legal manipulation with fabricated medical emergencies replicated criminal enterprises I had exposed. Comprehensive forensic investigations had resulted in federal prosecutions and maximum sentences. Michael had begun his systematic assessment of my supposed vulnerability 18 months earlier. My minor stroke at Napa Valley Medical Center in February provided the perfect opportunity. What appeared to be routine family visits were actually comprehensive surveillance operations. He brought Emma along during early visits under the guise of helping with household tasks. They provided emotional support during my recovery period. Actually, they conducted joint observation of my daily routines. They monitored my medication management and business decision processes. They watched my interactions with financial advisors and estate planning professionals. My substantial asset portfolio became their target. Michael's professional background provided significant advantages for systematic inheritance fraud. His real estate law experience exposed him to estate planning strategies. He understood power of attorney procedures and conservatorship processes. Financial asset transfer mechanisms were familiar territory. Wealthy elderly clients used these tools regularly. Property law gave him insight into estate planning during advanced age periods. Physical health challenges could affect decision-making capabilities. Cognitive changes might impact complex financial operations. Legal obligations required specialized professional guidance. Comprehensive decision-making needed expert assistance. Emma's academic background complemented Michael's legal expertise perfectly. Her finance major at UC Berkeley provided theoretical knowledge. Her 3-year internship at First National Bank's Wealth Management Department gave practical experience. She understood financial portfolio management and investment account procedures. Banking security protocols were familiar territory for Emma. Asset transfer mechanisms for elderly clients were routine. Wealthy individuals maintained control over substantial financial holdings while delegating management responsibilities. Trusted family members could provide specialized expertise. Professional financial advisors offered complex investment strategies. Together, Michael and Emma represented a formidable criminal partnership. Michael's legal expertise provided the framework for document fraud. Emma's financial knowledge enabled technical execution of asset transfer operations. Their combination made inheritance fraud particularly sophisticated and dangerous. Estate planning law became Michael's weapon. Document authentication procedures were his specialty. Power of attorney processes provided legal authority. Conservatorship requirements could be manipulated. Emma's banking knowledge complemented perfectly. Account access protocols were her strength. Investment management systems were familiar territory. Financial documentation standards became tools for fraud. High net worth individuals required specialized handling. Complex asset transfers appeared legitimate to financial institutions. Regulatory agencies trusted family involvement. Legal oversight bodies assumed appropriate assistance. The timing of their criminal planning was particularly cruel. My stroke recovery created genuine vulnerability. Physical limitations were real. Occasional memory difficulties occurred naturally. They exploited my period of greatest need. Legitimate family support became criminal exploitation. Michael and Emma coordinated their observations carefully. Michael focused on legal vulnerabilities and estate planning opportunities. Emma concentrated on financial account access and investment portfolio management. They identified systematic manipulation possibilities. Banking relationships could be exploited. Asset management procedures could be abused. My apparent confusion about complex estate planning documents seemed like cognitive decline to Michael. My seeming gratitude for legal explanations appeared as dependency. My relief at family assistance with paperwork looked like overwhelming confusion. He interpreted careful questions as declining comprehension. Actually, my systematic inquiry techniques reflected extensive legal training. I was gathering information about his knowledge and intentions. I maintained the appearance of grateful dependency while conducting investigation. Professional expertise remained hidden behind vulnerable elderly woman facade. Emma evaluated my financial vulnerability through different observations. My apparent difficulty managing multiple investment accounts seemed problematic. My confusion about banking procedures appeared genuine. My gratitude for assistance with online account access looked like technological limitations. Computer navigation challenges appeared age-related to Emma. Digital financial management seemed overwhelming. She assumed my careful verification represented cognitive problems. Actually, systematic security protocols reflected extensive financial crime investigation experience. Detailed records and verification procedures were professional habits. The systematic approach Michael and Emma developed was comprehensive. Legal document manipulation coordinated with financial account access. They created the appearance of legitimate family assistance with estate planning. Asset management seemed routine and appropriate. Complete control transfer was the hidden objective. Michael's legal strategy involved systematic replacement of legitimate estate planning documents. Carefully crafted alternatives appeared identical to casual observation. Subtle modifications transferred beneficiary designations. Executor responsibilities shifted to family control. Financial decision-making authority moved from professional representatives to Michael and Emma. Real estate documentation experience provided detailed formatting knowledge. Legal signature authentication was familiar territory. Notarization procedures were routine. Document storage protocols enabled forgery. Comprehensive forensic analysis would be required for detection. Legal professionals with specialized training could identify fraud. Emma's financial strategy established gradual account access privileges. Systematic presentation of forged power of attorney documents to banking institutions worked effectively. Investment firms accepted family authorization. Financial advisory services trusted legal documentation. Portfolio management control increased systematically. Banking experience provided detailed security knowledge. Account verification protocols were familiar. Authorization requirements could be satisfied. Legitimate family assistance appearance was maintained. Elderly clients routinely required additional support. Age-related limitations justified family involvement. The coordination between legal manipulation and financial access was sophisticated. Comprehensive inheritance fraud transferred complete estate control. Legitimate family assistance appearance was maintained throughout. Age-related care needs provided perfect cover. Financial management support seemed appropriate and necessary. Criminal planning included detailed preparation for potential challenges. Other family members might question sudden involvement. Financial institutions could ask difficult questions. Legal oversight bodies might investigate changes. Estate planning modifications required explanations. Michael researched potential objections from relatives. His sister Jennifer lived in Portland. My younger son David was in Chicago. They might question his financial involvement. Estate planning documents previously designated professional executors. Trustee responsibilities had been assigned to specialists rather than family members. Legal background provided understanding of notification requirements. Challenge procedures were familiar territory. Documentation standards could prevent objections. Claims of cognitive incapacity would justify family intervention. Immediate protection of interests became the cover story. Emma prepared responses to banking institution questions. Account access changes required explanations. Management procedure modifications needed justification. Power of attorney authority documentation was crucial. Financial advisory services would verify authorization carefully. Banking experience provided knowledge of standard verification procedures. Documentation requirements were routine. Approval processes protected elderly clients from exploitation. Legitimate family assistance needs were recognized. Temporary incapacity periods required support. Permanent limitations demanded ongoing help. The sophistication of criminal planning extended beyond simple document fraud. Long-term asset management required preparation. Estate liquidation needed coordination. Wealth transfer demanded careful planning. Maximum financial benefits were the objective. Detection risks needed minimization. Michael's legal knowledge provided estate planning strategies. Tax minimization techniques were available. Asset protection mechanisms could shelter wealth. Inherited resources could be protected from claims. Challenges by family members could be defeated. Legal authorities might question legitimacy. Emma's financial expertise enabled investment management planning. Account consolidation was possible. Wealth preservation strategies were available. Stolen assets could generate continued income. Legitimate inheritance management appearance was crucial. Criminal exploitation needed to remain hidden. International asset transfer mechanisms were options. Offshore account management provided privacy. Financial protection could move wealth beyond recovery. Law enforcement agencies had limited reach. Civil litigation by family members could be avoided. Discovery of inheritance fraud could be prevented. Their criminal enterprise represented sophisticated elder financial abuse. Family members with professional knowledge were dangerous. Legitimate access to legal and financial systems enabled manipulation. Standard estate planning procedures could be exploited. Asset management processes became criminal tools. Elderly relatives trusted family members with relevant credentials. Financial institutions assumed family involvement was legitimate. Legal professionals viewed family assistance as appropriate. Healthcare providers supported family participation. Natural trust created perfect criminal cover. The timing was particularly cruel, because I genuinely needed family support. Stroke recovery created real limitations. Physical challenges were authentic. Medication effects caused periodic confusion. Fatigue was a legitimate concern. Family assistance should have been protection. Instead, systematic transformation of legitimate help into criminal exploitation occurred. The worst type of elder abuse was family betrayal. Trust was violated during vulnerability. Protection became theft. Support became systematic exploitation. Love became calculated financial crime. Their confidence in avoiding detection was based on several factors. Family members had legitimate access to financial information. Elderly relatives trusted professional credentials naturally. Complexity of estate planning created confusion opportunities. Artificial urgency justified increased involvement. Decision-making manipulation was difficult to detect. Legal protections often failed against family member exploitation. Protective systems assumed family involvement was beneficial. Financial institutions viewed family participation as appropriate. Legal professionals supported family assistance. Healthcare providers encouraged family involvement. Criminal activity was disguised as legitimate help. The financial pressure driving their scheme was substantial. Michael's law practice was struggling financially. Real estate market decline affected business. Property transaction volume was reduced. Competition from larger firms was intense. Wealthy clients sought comprehensive services elsewhere. Personal financial situation had deteriorated significantly. Credit card debt was mounting rapidly. His Sonoma County home mortgage was underwater. Student loan obligations continued despite reduced income. Legal practice revenue was declining steadily. Monthly payments were becoming impossible. Emma's financial crisis was equally desperate. Private university education was expensive. Lifestyle expectations exceeded earning potential. Student loan debt from UC Berkeley exceeded $180,000. Credit card obligations from living expenses were substantial. Social activities and consumer purchases created additional debt. Professional appearance investments were justified as networking opportunities. High-paying financial industry positions were the goal after graduation. Internship salary was insufficient for debt payments. Minimum obligations could not be met. Financial pressure made inheritance access attractive. The combination of legal expertise and financial access created perfect opportunity. Substantial estate resources could eliminate debt obligations. Vineyard property was historically valuable. Real estate holdings were extensive. Investment portfolios were worth millions. Business assets provided additional wealth. Early inheritance access seemed justified to them. Assets would transfer to family eventually anyway. Their theft appeared to be accelerating inevitable distribution. Criminal fraud was rationalized as premature inheritance. Vulnerable elderly relative was the obstacle to financial security. Sophistication extended to comprehensive long-term planning. Asset management strategies were developed. Estate liquidation was coordinated. Wealth transfer was optimized. Financial benefits were maximized. Detection risks were minimized throughout. Tax minimization techniques were available through Michael's knowledge. Asset protection mechanisms could shelter stolen wealth. Investment management through Emma's expertise would preserve resources. Account consolidation could simplify oversight. Wealth preservation would ensure continued income. International mechanisms provided escape options. Offshore accounts offered privacy protection. Financial transfers could move beyond recovery reach. Law enforcement limitations created opportunities. Civil litigation could be avoided. Asset recovery could be prevented. Playfoy's prevention avoid minor respats. Their criminal coordination represented the most dangerous elder abuse. Professional knowledge enabled sophisticated fraud. Legitimate system access provided criminal opportunities. Family trust created perfect cover. Vulnerability exploitation was systematic and calculated. Detection avoidance was carefully planned. The betrayal was complete because genuine need was exploited. Stroke recovery required real assistance. Physical limitations created dependency. Cognitive effects needed understanding. Family support was essential. Trust was absolute and vulnerable. Criminal transformation of necessary help into systematic theft was particularly cruel. Protection became exploitation. Love became calculation. Care became crime. Support became stealing. Family became predators during greatest vulnerability. Their confidence reflected how family exploitation often succeeds. Professional credentials provide credibility. Legitimate access enables intelligence gathering. Trust prevents suspicion. Complexity creates confusion. Authority justifies involvement. Detection becomes nearly impossible. But they had made one catastrophic error. Their systematic inheritance fraud was being planned against the nation's leading expert in detecting family inheritance fraud. Their sophisticated scheme would encounter superior knowledge, federal resources, and comprehensive prosecution capabilities. The cosmic irony was perfect and devastating. They were conducting textbook elder financial abuse against the person who literally wrote the textbook on elder financial abuse detection. Their criminal methodology would meet its perfect match in professional expertise, developed specifically to defeat their exact type of scheme. Michael and Emma thought they had found the perfect victim: an isolated elderly woman with substantial assets and apparent vulnerability. Limited professional oversight and minimal family involvement. Valuable estate and trusting relationships. No connections to detection capabilities. They had actually targeted the worst possible victim for inheritance fraud. Someone whose entire career was built on exposing family financial exploitation. Someone with federal relationships and prosecution capabilities. Someone whose expertise would guarantee their immediate detection and maximum punishment. Their systematic planning would become evidence for their own prosecution. Professional methodology would prove premeditation. Sophisticated coordination would demonstrate criminal enterprise. Family exploitation would trigger enhanced penalties. Elder abuse would result in federal charges. The perfect family inheritance theft was about to become the perfect criminal justice case study. Their confidence would transform into complete destruction. Their financial solution would become lifelong imprisonment. Their systematic scheme would encounter systematic prosecution. But first, they had to make their move. The stroke recovery period was ending. My apparent vulnerability window was closing. Physical limitations were improving daily. Cognitive effects were diminishing rapidly. Family oversight justification would soon disappear. Michael accelerated the timeline for legal document execution. Estate planning modifications required immediate implementation. Power of attorney documents needed urgent completion. Beneficiary designations demanded quick changes. Financial authority transfer could not wait longer. Emma coordinated banking institution presentations simultaneously. Account access requests required prompt submission. Investment management authority needed immediate establishment. Portfolio control demanded urgent documentation. Asset transfer operations could not be delayed further. Their criminal coordination reached peak intensity during my supposed period of greatest vulnerability. Legal fraud and financial manipulation occurred simultaneously. Document forgery and account access happened in parallel. Estate planning, abuse, and investment control developed together. Family exploitation and inheritance theft proceeded jointly. They believed they were implementing the perfect crime. Professional knowledge enabled sophisticated execution. Family trust provided complete cover. Victim vulnerability ensured cooperation. Authority credentials prevented questions. Detection avoidance seemed guaranteed. What they didn't know was that every move was being documented. Every conversation was being recorded. Every document was being analyzed. Every account access was being monitored. Every criminal act was being preserved as evidence. Aksatsipida, the expert they thought they were deceiving, was actually the prosecutor who would destroy them. The vulnerable victim they believed they were exploiting was actually the investigator who would expose them. The elderly woman they assumed they were manipulating was actually the federal consultant who would convict them. Michael and Emma's systematic inheritance fraud was about to collide with systematic criminal justice. Their professional expertise would encounter superior professional expertise. Their criminal methodology would meet superior detection methodology. Their family exploitation would face federal prosecution. Baxiety, the cosmic irony was complete and devastating. They were committing textbook elder financial abuse against the person who literally wrote the textbook on elder financial abuse detection and prosecution. Their sophisticated criminal scheme was being conducted against the leading expert in defeating sophisticated criminal schemes. Their confidence in criminal success would become evidence of criminal intent. Their professional coordination would become proof of criminal enterprise. Their family exploitation would become grounds for maximum sentences. Their inheritance fraud would become the foundation for federal prosecution. The perfect crime was about to become the perfect conviction. Their systematic planning would enable systematic prosecution. Their professional knowledge would become criminal liability. Their family position would become aggravating circumstances. Their victim selection would become their complete destruction. Justice was about to be served with cosmic precision and professional expertise that would make their case legendary in federal law enforcement circles. The expert versus the amateurs, the protector versus the exploiters, the prosecutor versus the criminals. Michael and Emma thought they had found the perfect victim for inheritance fraud. They had actually found the perfect prosecutor for inheritance fraud cases. Their criminal enterprise was about to encounter the justice system's most sophisticated response to family financial exploitation. The systematic inheritance theft was about to become systematic criminal accountability. Their perfect plan was about to become perfect evidence. Their professional crime was about to meet professional justice. Their family betrayal was about to face federal consequences. But they didn't know any of this yet. In their minds, they were implementing the crime of the century, a sophisticated inheritance fraud that would solve all their financial problems. Professional expertise applied to criminal purposes. Family trust exploited for maximum benefit. Anakim Lekiwohim. They were confident in their superior planning and execution. Legal knowledge provided perfect cover. Financial expertise enabled flawless implementation. Family position prevented suspicion. Victim vulnerability ensured success. Professional credentials guaranteed credibility. What they had actually done was commit crimes against the one person whose entire career had been dedicated to detecting and prosecuting their exact type of criminal behavior. Their victim was their prosecutor. Their target was their destroyer. Their exploitation was their conviction. The inheritance fraud experts were about to be educated by the inheritance fraud detection expert. The family financial abusers were about to be prosecuted by the family financial abuse prosecutor. The elder exploiters were about to be convicted by the elder protection advocate. Their systematic criminal enterprise was about to encounter systematic criminal justice designed specifically to defeat their type of professional exploitation of elderly vulnerability. Federal prosecution capabilities would match their criminal sophistication. Legal expertise would exceed their criminal knowledge. Justice would triumph over exploitation. The perfect storm of cosmic irony was gathering force. Professional criminals versus professional prosecutor. Family exploiters versus family protector. Inheritance thieves versus inheritance defender. Elder abusers versus elder advocate. Michael and Emma's confidence was about to be shattered by the reality they never suspected. Their victim was actually their nemesis. Their target was actually their destroyer. Their exploitation was actually their conviction. Their crime was actually their justice. The systematic inheritance fraud was complete. The systematic criminal prosecution was about to begin. Their perfect crime would become perfect evidence. Their professional planning would enable professional prosecution. Their family betrayal would face federal justice. Justice was about to be served with the precision that only comes when criminals target the exact expert whose life's work has been dedicated to their detection, prosecution, and punishment. The cosmic irony was perfect. The professional match was devastating. The outcome was inevitable. Soy esamikikamas we macholaicher. Their inheritance fraud was about to become their life sentence. Their family exploitation was about to become their federal conviction. Their professional crime was about to become their complete destruction. The expert they tried to deceive was about to become the prosecutor who would destroy them. The victim they tried to exploit was about to become the witness who would convict them. The elderly woman they tried to manipulate was about to become the force of justice that would imprison them. Michael and Emma's systematic criminal scheme was about to encounter the most sophisticated criminal justice response in federal law enforcement history. Their professional inheritance fraud would meet professional inheritance fraud prosecution. Their expertise would encounter superior expertise. Their crime would meet perfect justice. And manipulation. The timing of their scheme was particularly cruel, as they exploited the period of my greatest vulnerability following the stroke, when I genuinely needed family support and assistance with routine activities that had become more challenging due to temporary physical limitations and medication effects that could create periodic confusion or fatigue. Their systematic transformation of legitimate family assistance into criminal exploitation represented the worst type of elder abuse, the betrayal of trust by family members who were supposed to provide protection and support during a period of genuine vulnerability rather than exploitation and theft designed to maximize their personal financial benefit at my expense. Their confidence in avoiding detection was based on several factors that made inheritance fraud by family members particularly difficult to discover and prosecute. The legitimate access that family members have to elderly relatives' financial and legal information makes it easy to gather intelligence about assets, estate planning arrangements, and potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited for criminal purposes. The natural trust that elderly people place in family members with professional credentials creates opportunities for manipulation and fraud that would be impossible for non-family criminals to achieve. The complexity of estate planning and financial management makes it easy for criminal family members to create artificial confusion and urgency that justifies their increased involvement in decision-making processes that they can then manipulate for personal benefit. The legal protections designed to prevent elder financial abuse often fail to address the specific challenges posed by family member exploitation, as these protections assume that family involvement represents legitimate assistance rather than criminal activity. Financial institutions, legal professionals, and healthcare providers typically view family member involvement in elderly financial management as appropriate and beneficial rather than potentially exploitative, making it difficult for protective systems to identify and prevent systematic inheritance fraud by relatives with professional credentials and apparent legitimate authority to participate in estate planning and asset management decisions. Plan asset management decisions. To Michael and Emma, I was just Eleanor Whitmore, a confused elderly woman struggling with stroke recovery, someone who needed their professional guidance and family protection. A perfect victim for systematic inheritance fraud. Emma Stilling-Cruff. The reality was devastatingly different. I was Dr. Eleanor Whitmore, former Chief Legal Counsel for the California Department of Aging, the nation's leading expert in elder financial abuse detection, someone whose entire career had been built on exposing family inheritance fraud. My stroke recovery was real. The physical limitations were genuine. But my cognitive abilities remained sharp as ever. Professional training kicked in automatically. 38 years of criminal investigation experience activated instinctively. I recognized their surveillance from the very beginning. Michael's caring visits were obviously intelligence gathering. Emma's helpful assistance was systematic observation. Their coordinated family concern was textbook criminal behavior. Every question they asked revealed their intentions. Michael's inquiries about estate planning were fishing expeditions. Emma's interest in financial accounts was reconnaissance. Their sudden involvement in my medical care was suspicious timing. Canis eminens. I had seen this exact pattern hundreds of times before. Family members positioning themselves for inheritance fraud. Professional criminals exploiting elderly vulnerability. Systematic coordination between multiple perpetrators. Sophisticated planning for financial exploitation. The signs were unmistakable to someone with my background. Increased family attention following medical episodes. Sudden interest in financial management assistance. Professional credentials being leveraged for credibility. Artificial complexity being created around routine decisions. Michael's legal terminology was designed to confuse and intimidate. Emma's financial jargon was meant to overwhelm and impress. Together, they created artificial urgency around decisions that required immediate family intervention. Classic manipulation techniques for elder exploitation. But they had made one catastrophic error. They were using textbook elder abuse methodologies against the person who literally wrote the textbook on elder abuse detection. Their criminal techniques were being deployed against the expert who had developed the detection protocols. I maintained the appearance of confused vulnerability while conducting systematic counter-surveillance. Every interaction was carefully documented. Every conversation was discreetly recorded. Every suspicious behavior was preserved as evidence. My home security system was upgraded immediately after the stroke. Hidden cameras monitored all common areas. Audio recording devices captured every conversation. Digital surveillance documented their every move during visits. Michael never suspected that his legal document reviews were being filmed. Emma had no idea that her financial account discussions were being recorded. Their private conversations about my declining condition were captured in high definition. I maintained detailed written records of every suspicious incident. Timestamps for all unusual behaviors. Documented quotes of their concerning statements. Photographic evidence of document handling. Video proof of unauthorized access attempts. My professional network provided immediate consultation on their activities. FBI financial crime specialists reviewed their behavioral patterns. Department of Justice elder abuse experts analyzed their coordination methods. Federal prosecutors evaluated evidence collection procedures. The surveillance equipment I installed was military-grade. Hidden cameras with night vision capabilities. Audio recording devices with voice enhancement. Motion sensors triggering automatic documentation. Digital storage with encryption security. Michael's document manipulation attempts were captured in detail. His subtle replacement of estate planning papers was filmed. His signature practice sessions were recorded. His consultation with forged document specialists was documented. Emma's banking institution reconnaissance was thoroughly monitored. Her unauthorized access to my financial records was traced. Her consultation with account management specialists was documented. Her coordination with money laundering experts was recorded. Their private planning sessions were the most damaging evidence. Detailed discussions about asset liquidation timelines. Specific conversations about offshore account establishment. Explicit coordination of criminal methodology. Complete confession of inheritance fraud intent. I provided them with perfect opportunities to incriminate themselves. Casual questions about estate planning that triggered detailed criminal explanations. Innocent inquiries about financial management that produced comprehensive fraud confessions. Seemingly confused requests for help that generated complete criminal admissions. Michael eagerly explained how power of attorney documents could be modified. Emma enthusiastically described how banking access could be manipulated. Together, they provided detailed tutorials on inheritance fraud methodology while being recorded by federal surveillance equipment. My apparent gratitude for their assistance encouraged more detailed criminal planning discussions. Their confidence in my vulnerability led to increasingly explicit criminal coordination. Their assumption of my cognitive decline resulted in complete criminal exposure. The psychological manipulation they employed was textbook elder abuse, creating artificial complexity around routine decisions, generating false urgency about legal requirements, exploiting medical vulnerability for financial gain, using professional credentials for criminal credibility. But psychological manipulation works both ways. I used their arrogance against them. Their professional pride made them explain criminal techniques in detail. Their assumption of superiority led to complete criminal confession. Their confidence in my vulnerability resulted in total evidence preservation. Every federal protocol for elder abuse investigation was implemented systematically. Chain of custody procedures for evidence collection. Documentation standards for criminal prosecution. Surveillance techniques for organized crime investigation. Coordination protocols for multi-agency response. My consultation with federal investigators began immediately after recognizing their criminal intent. FBI Financial Crime Division provided surveillance guidance. Secret Service offered technical assistance. Department of Justice coordinated prosecution planning. The evidence collection was comprehensive and methodical. Digital recordings of criminal planning sessions. Photographic documentation of document manipulation. Video surveillance of unauthorized access attempts. Audio recordings of explicit criminal confessions. Financial crime specialists helped analyze their methodology. Banking fraud experts reviewed their account access techniques. Legal document forgery specialists examined their estate planning manipulation. International money laundering experts studied their asset transfer planning. Their criminal sophistication was impressive, but ultimately futile. Professional knowledge applied to criminal purposes. systematic coordination between multiple perpetrators, comprehensive planning for detection avoidance. Unfortunately, they were committing crimes against the leading expert in detecting their exact criminal methodology. Michael's legal background provided detailed understanding of estate planning fraud. Emma's financial training enabled sophisticated banking manipulation. Together, they represented formidable criminal partnership. Against most elderly victims, their scheme would have succeeded completely. But they had targeted the worst possible victim for inheritance fraud. Someone whose entire career was dedicated to exposing family financial exploitation. Someone with federal resources and prosecution capabilities. Someone whose expertise guaranteed their immediate detection. The irony was mathematically perfect. Estate planning fraud against estate planning fraud detector. Banking manipulation against banking fraud investigator. Family exploitation against family protection advocate. Professional crime against professional prosecutor. Their criminal enterprise was being observed by the expert, analyzed by the specialist, documented by the investigator, coordinated by the federal consultant, prosecuted by the leading authority on their exact type of criminal behavior. Every technique they employed was recognizable. Every method they used was documented. Every strategy they implemented was anticipated. Every move they made was countered. Every crime they committed was preserved as evidence. Michael's document forgery techniques matched case studies from my federal training programs. Emma's account access methods replicated patterns from organized crime investigations. Their coordination matched criminal enterprises I had successfully prosecuted. The timing of their criminal escalation was perfect for evidence collection. Medical vulnerability period provided justification for surveillance. Family involvement appeared natural and appropriate. Professional assistance seemed legitimate and beneficial. Criminal activity was disguised as helpful assistance. But disguise only works against untrained observers. Professional criminal investigators recognize manipulation techniques immediately. Federal prosecution specialists identify criminal patterns instantly. Elder abuse experts detect family exploitation automatically. My expertise in criminal psychology enabled prediction of their next moves. Financial pressure would drive escalating criminal behavior. Professional arrogance would lead to careless criminal exposure. Family position would create overconfidence in criminal immunity. They believed family relationships provided criminal protection. Professional credentials offered criminal credibility. Victim vulnerability ensured criminal success. Detection avoidance was guaranteed through sophisticated planning. Actually, family relationships increased criminal penalties. Professional credentials enhanced criminal liability. Victim vulnerability triggered federal prosecution. Sophisticated planning proved criminal premeditation. The evidence against them was overwhelming and irrefutable. Digital documentation of criminal planning. Audio recordings of criminal coordination. Video surveillance of criminal implementation. Photographic proof of criminal execution. Federal prosecutors confirmed that evidence quality exceeded prosecution requirements. Criminal intent was explicitly documented. Criminal methodology was comprehensively recorded. Criminal coordination was systematically preserved. Criminal implementation was thoroughly captured. Their financial pressure had driven them to desperate criminal measures. Michael's failing law practice created mounting debt obligations. Emma's expensive education generated crushing financial burden. Together, they faced financial ruin without immediate relief. My substantial estate represented their financial salvation. Vineyard property could eliminate debt completely. Investment portfolios could provide lifestyle security. Business assets could ensure continued wealth. Early inheritance access seemed like perfect solution. But criminal solutions create criminal consequences. Inheritance fraud triggers federal prosecution. Elder abuse results in maximum sentences. Family exploitation enhances criminal penalties. Professional crime increases criminal liability. Their systematic planning had created systematic evidence. Professional methodology proved criminal premeditation. Sophisticated coordination demonstrated criminal enterprise. Comprehensive preparation confirmed criminal intent. Every element of their scheme was documented thoroughly. Legal document forgery attempts were filmed. Banking access manipulation was recorded. Family coordination was captured. Criminal planning was preserved. The federal response was immediate and comprehensive. Multi-agency investigation coordination. Specialized prosecution team assignment. Expert testimony preparation. Maximum sentence pursuit. FBI Financial Crime Division provided investigative resources. Secret Service offered technical expertise. Department of Justice coordinated prosecution strategy. California Department of Aging supplied expert testimony. International coordination prevented escape attempts. Asset seizure procedures protected stolen wealth. Extradition treaties eliminated foreign sanctuary. Professional license revocation ended career options. Their criminal enterprise faced the most sophisticated law enforcement response available. Federal prosecution capabilities matched their criminal sophistication. Professional expertise exceeded their criminal knowledge. Justice system resources overwhelmed their criminal planning. The investigation expanded beyond their immediate crimes. Other potential victims were identified. Additional criminal associates were discovered. Broader criminal network was exposed. Complete criminal organization was dismantled. Michael's law firm connections revealed additional conspirators. Emma's banking relationships exposed money laundering networks. Their criminal associates faced individual prosecution. Entire criminal enterprise was systematically destroyed. Professional licensing boards initiated disciplinary proceedings. Bar Association conducted ethics investigations. Banking regulatory agencies reviewed compliance violations. Academic institutions examined degree fraud. Their professional credentials became criminal liabilities. Legal licensing increased prosecution penalties. Banking certification enhanced criminal charges. Educational qualifications proved criminal sophistication. Civil asset forfeiture procedures targeted their property. Criminal proceeds were systematically recovered. Illegally obtained wealth was returned to victims. Future earning potential was eliminated permanently. The psychological impact was devastating for both perpetrators. Professional reputation was destroyed completely. Family relationships were terminated permanently. Social standing was eliminated entirely. Future prospects were annihilated systematically. Tashel. Michael's legal career was finished forever. Bar Association disbarment was automatic. Professional liability was unlimited. Civil lawsuits were inevitable. Criminal conviction was certain. Michael's legal career was destroyed before beginning. Banking industry employment was prohibited permanently. Professional certification was revoked immediately. Educational investment was wasted completely. Future prospects were eliminated entirely. Their criminal coordination had created mutual destruction. Each perpetrator's crimes enhanced the other's penalties. Joint prosecution increased individual sentences. Coordinated defense was impossible due to conflicting interests. Family relationships were destroyed by criminal betrayal. Trust was violated through exploitation. Love was corrupted by greed. Support was transformed into victimization. Care was converted into crime. Qasim Lekael, the Water family impact was significant. Other relatives faced suspicion. Family gatherings became impossible. Holiday celebrations were destroyed. Traditional relationships were terminated. Extended family connections were severed. Community reputation was annihilated permanently. Professional standing was eliminated completely. Social relationships were destroyed entirely. Public trust was violated irreparably. Local connections were severed permanently. Media attention created national awareness. Elder abuse prevention was highlighted. Family exploitation was exposed. Professional criminal behavior was documented. Federal prosecution was celebrated. Had VA'd, their case became educational material. Law enforcement training programs used their example. Academic institutions studied their methodology. Professional organizations analyzed their behavior. Victim advocacy groups promoted their prosecution. The deterrent effect was substantial. Other potential criminals reconsidered inheritance fraud. Professional exploitation was discouraged. Family financial abuse was prevented. Elder vulnerability was protected. Their criminal enterprise had backfired completely. Professional crime created professional consequences. Sophisticated planning enabled sophisticated prosecution. Criminal expertise met superior legal expertise. Family exploitation faced federal justice. The cosmic irony was complete and devastating. Inheritance fraud experts were prosecuted by the inheritance fraud detection expert. Elder abuse criminals were convicted by the elder abuse prevention advocate. Professional criminals were destroyed by the professional prosecutor. Their confidence in criminal success had become evidence of criminal intent. Their professional coordination had become proof of criminal enterprise. Their family exploitation had become grounds for maximum sentences. Justice was being served with the precision that only comes when criminals target the exact expert whose life's work has been dedicated to their detection, prosecution, and punishment. Their victim was actually their prosecutor. Their target was actually their destroyer. The systematic inheritance fraud was encountering systematic criminal justice. Their professional expertise was meeting superior professional expertise. Their criminal methodology was facing superior detection methodology. Michael and Emma's sophisticated criminal scheme was about to collide with the most sophisticated criminal justice response in federal law enforcement history. Their inheritance fraud would meet inheritance fraud prosecution. Their expertise would encounter superior expertise. The expert they tried to deceive was about to become the prosecutor who would destroy them. The victim they tried to exploit was about to become the witness who would convict them. The elderly woman they tried to manipulate was about to become the force of justice that would imprison them. Bada-vi, their perfect crime was about to become their perfect conviction. Their systematic planning would enable systematic prosecution. Their professional knowledge would become criminal liability. Their family position would become aggravating circumstances. The inheritance fraud experts were about to be educated by the inheritance fraud detection expert. The family financial abusers were about to be prosecuted by the family financial abuse prosecutor. The elder exploiters were about to be convicted by the elder protection advocate. Justice was about to triumph over exploitation with devastating precision and professional expertise that would make their case legendary in federal law enforcement circles. The hunter had become the hunted, the predators had become the prey, the criminals had become the convicted. To be day in manipulation. The timing of their scheme was particularly cruel, as they exploited the period of my greatest vulnerability following the stroke, when I genuinely needed family support and assistance with routine activities that had become more challenging due to temporary physical limitations and medication effects that could create periodic confusion or fatigue. Their systematic transformation of legitimate family assistance into criminal exploitation represented the worst type of elder abuse: the betrayal of trust by family members who were supposed to provide protection and support during a period of genuine vulnerability, rather than exploitation and theft designed to maximize their personal financial benefit at my expense. Their confidence in avoiding detection was based on several factors that made inheritance fraud by family members particularly difficult to discover and prosecute. The legitimate access that family members have to elderly relatives' financial and legal information makes it easy to gather intelligence about assets, estate planning arrangements, and potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited for criminal purposes. The natural trust that elderly people place in family members with professional credentials creates opportunities for manipulation and fraud that would be impossible for non-family criminals to achieve. The complexity of estate planning and financial management makes it easy for criminal family members to create artificial confusion and urgency that justifies their increased involvement in decision-making processes that they can then manipulate for personal benefit. The legal protections designed to prevent elder financial abuse often fail to address the specific challenges posed by family member exploitation, as these protections assume that family involvement represents legitimate assistance rather than criminal activity. Financial institutions, legal professionals, and healthcare providers typically view family member involvement in elderly financial management as appropriate and beneficial rather than potentially exploitative, making it difficult for protective systems to identify and prevent systematic inheritance fraud by relatives with professional credentials and apparent legitimate authority to participate in estate planning and asset management decisions. The moment of truth arrived on a crisp October morning. Michael and Emma had scheduled their final meeting with me. Today would be the day they executed their inheritance fraud. Complete asset transfer was planned. Estate control would be established. Their financial problems would be solved forever. They arrived at my vineyard estate with briefcases full of forged documents. Power of attorney papers were perfectly crafted. Medical competency assessments were professionally fabricated. Banking authorization forms were expertly falsified. Estate planning modifications were systematically prepared. Michael wore his best suit for the occasion. Professional appearance was crucial for credibility. Legal authority needed to appear legitimate. Banking institutions would be impressed by his presentation. Financial advisors would trust his documentation. Massivura, Emma brought her laptop and financial analysis materials. Investment portfolio reviews were prepared. Account management proposals were detailed. Asset liquidation timelines were optimized. Wealth transfer strategies were comprehensive. They believed this would be their moment of triumph. Months of careful planning would culminate in success. Professional expertise would overcome elderly vulnerability. Family trust would enable systematic exploitation. Criminal coordination would achieve financial salvation. What they didn't know was that federal agents were already positioned around the property. FBI surveillance teams monitored every entrance. Secret Service financial crime specialists coordinated response. Department of Justice prosecutors observed remotely. California Department of Aging investigators documented everything. The trap had been set with meticulous precision. Every detail was planned perfectly. Evidence collection was optimized for prosecution. Surveillance coverage was comprehensive. Federal coordination was seamless. Restiki perver. I greeted them warmly at the front door. My performance as confused elderly victim continued. Grateful appreciation for their assistance was expressed. Relief at family support was demonstrated. Complete trust in their expertise was projected. "Thank goodness you're both here," I said with apparent relief. "These financial matters are so overwhelming. I don't know what I would do without your professional guidance." Michael smiled confidently as he entered. His briefcase contained what he believed were the keys to my fortune. Emma followed with her materials for asset analysis. Their criminal coordination was about to reach its conclusion. We settled in my living room where so many of their planning sessions had occurred, the same location where they had confessed their criminal intentions. The exact spot where federal surveillance had captured their conspiracy. The place where their destruction would begin. "Mother, we've prepared everything you need," Michael announced with false concern. "These documents will ensure your estate is properly managed during your recovery period." Emma opened her laptop with professional efficiency. "Grandmother, I've analyzed your entire portfolio. The financial restructuring will optimize your assets for maximum security." Their confidence was absolute. Professional credentials provided credibility. Family relationships offered trust. My apparent vulnerability ensured cooperation. Detection seemed impossible. But every word was being recorded by federal surveillance equipment. Every document would become evidence in criminal prosecution. Every gesture was captured for jury presentation. Every crime was preserved for maximum sentences. I maintained my performance perfectly. Confused questions about complex legal terminology. Grateful acceptance of their explanations. Relief at their willingness to help. Complete dependence on their expertise. "I'm so confused by all these legal terms," I said with apparent frustration. "Could you explain exactly what these documents will accomplish?" Michael eagerly provided detailed explanations that constituted complete criminal confessions. Power of attorney abuse was explicitly described. Estate planning fraud was thoroughly outlined. Inheritance theft was comprehensively admitted. "These forms transfer legal authority to us temporarily," he explained. "We'll manage your finances during your cognitive recovery. All decisions will be made for your protection and benefit. Emma supplemented with financial fraud explanations. Banking manipulation was described in detail. Account access procedures were explicitly outlined. Asset transfer mechanisms were thoroughly explained. The banking authorizations allow us to optimize your investments, she said confidently. We'll consolidate accounts for better management. International diversification will protect your wealth. Every word was evidence of premeditated criminal intent. Federal prosecutors would use their explanations to prove systematic fraud. Detailed criminal methodology would demonstrate professional criminal enterprise. Explicit admissions would ensure maximum convictions. The systematic inheritance fraud was encountering systematic criminal justice. Their professional expertise was meeting superior professional expertise. Their criminal methodology was facing superior detection methodology. Michael and Emma's sophisticated criminal scheme was about to collide with the most sophisticated criminal justice response in federal law enforcement history. Their inheritance fraud would meet inheritance fraud prosecution. Their expertise would encounter superior expertise. The expert they tried to deceive was about to become the prosecutor who would destroy them. The victim they tried to exploit was about to become the witness who would convict them. The elderly woman they tried to manipulate was about to become the force of justice that would imprison them. Their perfect crime was about to become their perfect conviction. Their systematic planning would enable systematic prosecution. Their professional knowledge would become criminal liability. Their family position would become aggravating circumstances. The inheritance fraud experts were about to be educated by the inheritance fraud detection expert. The family financial abusers were about to be prosecuted by the family financial abuse prosecutor. The elder exploiters were about to be convicted by the elder protection advocate. Justice was about to triumph over exploitation with devastating precision and professional expertise that would make their case legendary in federal law enforcement circles. The hunter had become the hunted, the predators had become the prey, the criminals had become the convicted. To be day in manipulation. The timing of their scheme was particularly cruel, as they exploited the period of my greatest vulnerability following the stroke, when I genuinely needed family support and assistance with routine activities that had become more challenging due to temporary physical limitations and medication effects that could create periodic confusion or fatigue. Their systematic transformation of legitimate family assistance into criminal exploitation represented the worst type of elder abuse. The betrayal of trust by family members who were supposed to provide protection and support during a period of genuine vulnerability, rather than exploitation and theft, designed to maximize their personal financial benefit at my expense. Their confidence in avoiding detection was based on several factors that made inheritance fraud by family members particularly difficult to discover and prosecute. The legitimate access that family members have to elderly relatives' financial and legal information makes it easy to gather intelligence about assets, estate planning arrangements, and potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited for criminal purposes. The natural trust that elderly people place in family members with professional credentials creates opportunities for manipulation and fraud that would be impossible for non-family criminals to achieve. The complexity of estate planning and financial management makes it easy for criminal family members to create artificial confusion and urgency that justifies their increased involvement in decision-making processes that they can then manipulate for personal benefit. The legal protections designed to prevent elder financial abuse often fail to address the specific challenges posed by family member exploitation, as these protections assume that family involvement represents legitimate assistance rather than criminal activity. Financial institutions, legal professionals, and healthcare providers typically view family member involvement in elderly financial management as appropriate and beneficial rather than potentially exploitative, making it difficult for protective systems to identify and prevent systematic inheritance fraud by relatives with professional credentials and apparent legitimate authority to participate in estate planning and asset management decisions. The moment of truth arrived on a crisp October morning. Michael and Emma had scheduled their final meeting with me. Today would be the day they executed their inheritance fraud. Complete asset transfer was planned. Estate control would be established. Their financial problems would be solved forever. They arrived at my vineyard estate with briefcases full of forged documents. Power of attorney papers were perfectly crafted. Medical competency assessments were professionally fabricated. Banking authorization forms were expertly falsified. Estate planning modifications were systematically prepared. I asked innocent questions that encouraged more detailed criminal confessions. What exactly will happen to my current estate planning arrangements? Michael's response was devastating for his defense. We'll modify the beneficiary designations for tax efficiency. Executor responsibilities will be transferred to family management. Professional trustees will be replaced with more responsive oversight. Translation: they would steal my inheritance through document fraud. How will the banking changes affect my daily financial management? I inquired with apparent concern. Emma's explanation constituted comprehensive fraud admission. We'll establish streamlined access to all accounts. Investment decisions will be expedited through family authorization. Asset transfers will be optimized for portfolio enhancement. Translation: they would gain complete control of my wealth through banking manipulation. Their criminal coordination was captured in high definition. Video evidence documented their systematic fraud presentation. Audio recordings preserved their explicit criminal admissions. Digital surveillance captured their professional criminal methodology. The forged documents they presented were immediately recognizable to my trained eye. Signature inconsistencies were obvious. Legal formatting errors were apparent. Authentication failures were clear. Professional forensic analysis would expose every forgery, but I maintained my confused elderly victim performance. Careful examination of documents with apparent difficulty reading. Questions about legal implications that seemed beyond my comprehension. Grateful acceptance of their patient explanations. These signatures look different from my usual writing, I observed with apparent confusion. Michael's response revealed document fraud methodology. Stroke effects often change handwriting patterns. Medical professionals confirmed this is normal during recovery. Legal acceptance is standard for post-medical incident documentation. His explanation was evidence of systematic fraud planning. Knowledge of stroke effects on signatures proved criminal research. Legal acceptance claims were fraudulent misrepresentations. Medical professional consultation was fabricated authority. Emma supported with financial fraud justifications. Banking institutions understand medical impact on signatures. Account access modifications are routine for elderly clients. Professional verification ensures appropriate accommodation. Their criminal coordination was comprehensive and damning. Joint fraud explanations demonstrated conspiracy. Mutual support proved criminal enterprise. Coordinated deception confirmed systematic planning. Federal surveillance captured every detail of their fraud presentation. Document handling was filmed extensively. Signature attempts were recorded completely. Fraudulent explanations were preserved thoroughly. Criminal coordination was documented comprehensively. The moment for signature execution arrived. Michael presented the power of attorney documents with professional formality. Emma positioned banking authorization forms strategically. Both perpetrators watched expectantly as I approached their fraudulent paperwork. "Just sign here, Mother," Michael directed with false gentleness. "These simple signatures will protect your interests completely." I picked up the pen with apparent elderly trembling. My performance of confused vulnerability reached its climax. The federal surveillance focused intently on capturing their fraud completion. Then everything changed in an instant. Instead of signing their fraudulent documents, I set down the pen and looked directly at both conspirators. My confused elderly demeanor vanished completely. Professional authority replaced vulnerable confusion. Expert confidence displaced apparent helplessness. "Actually, Michael and Emma, there won't be any signatures today," I announced with crystal-clear authority. Dr. Eleanor Whitmore, former Chief Legal Counsel for the California Department of Aging, doesn't sign fraudulent inheritance theft documents. The shock on their faces was instantaneous and complete. Michael's confident expression dissolved into confusion. Emma's professional composure crumbled into panic. Both conspirators realized simultaneously that their perfect victim was actually their perfect prosecutor. "What?" Michael stammered with growing horror. "Mother, what are you talking about? These documents are for your protection." The evidence against them was overwhelming. Recorded criminal confessions, videotaped fraud attempts, forged document presentation, banking manipulation planning, systematic coordination proof. Dr. Whitmore's federal surveillance has captured comprehensive evidence of your criminal enterprise, Agent Martinez explained. 30 hours of recorded criminal planning, 57 documented fraud attempts, complete admission of systematic inheritance theft. Additional charges were announced systematically: wire fraud for banking manipulation, mail fraud for document falsification, money laundering for asset transfer planning, conspiracy for criminal coordination, elder abuse for vulnerable victim targeting. Federal sentencing guidelines provide for maximum penalties, Agent Martinez continued. Professional criminal enterprise enhancements apply. Elder abuse victim targeting increases sentences. Family relationship exploitation triggers enhanced punishment. Their forged documents became evidence exhibits. Power of attorney frauds were cataloged systematically. Banking authorization falsifications were preserved carefully. Estate planning crimes were documented thoroughly. Professional criminal methodology was analyzed comprehensively. Your legal backgrounds increase criminal liability, Agent Martinez explained to Michael. Professional license abuse enhances federal penalties. Attorney credential exploitation triggers enhanced sentences. Legal knowledge applied to criminal purposes increases punishment. Emma's banking experience similarly increased her criminal exposure. Financial industry background enhances fraud penalties. Professional credential abuse increases sentences. Banking knowledge applied to criminal purposes triggers maximum punishment. The federal prosecutors arrived to coordinate charges. Elder abuse specialists provided legal expertise. Financial crime prosecutors offered systematic guidance. Professional criminal enterprise experts contributed prosecution strategy. "This case represents textbook elder financial abuse," announced federal prosecutor James Wellington. "Professional criminals exploiting family relationships. Systematic coordination for inheritance theft. Sophisticated methodology for detection avoidance. My expert testimony would anchor the prosecution case. 38 years of elder abuse investigation. Professional expertise in inheritance fraud detection. Federal training program development. Hundreds of successful prosecutions. Dr. Whitmore's testimony will provide comprehensive explanation of defendant criminal methodology," Prosecutor Wellington continued. "Professional analysis of systematic fraud techniques. Expert identification of criminal coordination patterns. Federal court presentation of evidence analysis. Asset seizure procedures began immediately." Michael's law practice accounts were frozen. Emma's banking relationships were terminated. Both conspirators' assets were preserved for victim restitution. Future earning potential was eliminated through criminal conviction. Their professional licenses faced immediate revocation. Bar Association disciplinary proceedings were initiated. Banking regulatory agencies began compliance investigations. Educational institutions reviewed degree authenticity. Professional organizations examined membership violations. The broader criminal network investigation expanded rapidly. Other potential victims were identified. Additional criminal associates were discovered. Related fraud schemes were exposed. Complete criminal organization was systematically dismantled. Michael's law firm faced comprehensive investigation. Client account reviews were initiated. Document authentication was required. Professional liability was assessed. Firm reputation was destroyed permanently. Emma's banking connections revealed money laundering networks. Account access abuse was documented. Regulatory violations were confirmed. Professional misconduct was established. Industry employment was prohibited permanently. Media attention created national awareness. Elder abuse prevention was highlighted. Family exploitation was exposed. Professional criminal behavior was documented. Federal prosecution was celebrated. Their criminal case became educational material. Law enforcement training programs used their methodology. Academic institutions studied their coordination. Professional organizations analyzed their behavior. Victim advocacy groups promoted their prosecution. The psychological impact was devastating for both conspirators. Professional reputation was destroyed completely. Family relationships were terminated permanently. Social standing was eliminated entirely. Future prospects were annihilated systematically. Michael's children faced social consequences. Educational institutions questioned associations. Professional contacts were severed. Community relationships were destroyed. Extended family connections were eliminated. Emma's academic career was terminated immediately. University disciplinary proceedings were initiated. Degree authentication was reviewed. Professional recommendations were withdrawn. Graduate school applications were rejected. Their defense attorneys faced impossible challenges. Evidence quality was overwhelming. Criminal admissions were explicit. Federal resources were unlimited. Expert testimony was unshakable. Plea bargain negotiations were rejected systematically. Federal prosecutors demanded maximum sentences. Elder abuse penalties were non-negotiable. Professional criminal enterprise enhancements were mandatory. Victim impact considerations prevented leniency. The defendants targeted the nation's leading expert in detecting their exact criminal methodology, Prosecutor Wellington explained. Professional arrogance led to complete criminal exposure. Systematic fraud attempt against systematic fraud detector. Perfect case for maximum deterrent sentencing. The grand jury indictment was comprehensive. Multiple federal charges for systematic crimes. Enhanced penalties for professional exploitation. Elder abuse victim targeting increases. Family relationship violation aggravation. Fabula. Their criminal trial would become federal precedent. Professional inheritance fraud prosecution. Elder abuse victim expert testimony. Systematic criminal enterprise prosecution. Maximum sentence demonstration. Pre-trial detention was ordered for both conspirators. Flight risk was substantial due to international connections. Community safety required isolation. Evidence preservation demanded separation. Federal prosecution security needed protection. Their criminal coordination had become mutual destruction. Joint prosecution increased individual penalties. Coordinated defense was impossible due to conflicting interests. Criminal enterprise charges enhanced sentences. Conspiracy convictions multiplied punishment. Michael's legal expertise became prosecution advantage. Professional knowledge proved criminal sophistication. Attorney credentials enhanced penalty calculations. Legal training demonstrated premeditated planning. Bar membership increased sentence guidelines. Emma's financial background similarly enhanced prosecution. Banking experience proved criminal methodology. Professional training demonstrated systematic planning. Financial industry knowledge increased penalty calculations. Regulatory awareness enhanced sentence guidelines. The federal response was immediate and comprehensive. Multi-agency investigation coordination. Specialized prosecution team assignment. Expert testimony preparation. Maximum sentence pursuit. Deterrent effect optimization. Their criminal enterprise faced the most sophisticated law enforcement response available. Federal prosecution capabilities matched their criminal sophistication. Professional expertise exceeded their criminal knowledge. Justice system resources overwhelmed their criminal planning. The cosmic irony reached its devastating conclusion. Professional criminals versus professional prosecutor. Family exploiters versus family protector. Inheritance thieves versus inheritance defender. Elder abusers versus elder advocate. Avo-repressive Jahamans. Michael and Emma's confidence had been shattered by the reality they never suspected. Their victim was actually their nemesis. Their target was actually their destroyer. Their exploitation was actually their conviction. Belata basimus akin commentamarikiv, the systematic inheritance fraud had encountered systematic criminal justice. Their professional expertise had met superior professional expertise. Their criminal methodology had faced superior detection methodology. Justice was being served with the precision that only comes when criminals target the exact expert whose life's work has been dedicated to their detection, prosecution, and punishment. The cosmic irony was perfect and devastating. Their inheritance fraud had become their life sentence. Their family exploitation had become their federal conviction. Their professional crime had become their complete destruction. The expert they tried to deceive had become the prosecutor who would destroy them. The victim they tried to exploit had become the witness who would convict them. The elderly woman they tried to manipulate had become the force of justice that would imprison them. Their systematic criminal scheme had encountered the most sophisticated criminal justice response in federal law enforcement history. Their professional inheritance fraud would meet professional inheritance fraud prosecution. Their expertise had encountered superior expertise. The trap had sprung with devastating precision. The hunters had become the hunted. The predators had become the prey. The criminals had become the convicted. Justice was about to triumph over exploitation with cosmic precision and professional expertise that would make their case legendary in federal law enforcement circles. Their confidence had become their conviction. Their crime had become their justice. The federal courthouse in San Francisco had never seen a case quite like this one. Professional criminals targeting the nation's leading expert in their exact criminal methodology. Elder abuse perpetrators prosecuted by the Elder Abuse Prevention Advocate. Inheritance fraud criminals facing the inheritance fraud detection specialist. Michael and Emma sat in orange federal detention jumpsuits. Their expensive professional clothing had been replaced with prison uniforms. Designer briefcases were exchanged for handcuffs. Professional credentials became criminal liabilities. The transformation from confident criminals to defeated defendants was complete. Michael's legal authority had become criminal prosecution. Emma's financial expertise had become evidence of sophisticated fraud. Their family position had become aggravating circumstances. Federal prosecutor James Wellington assembled the most comprehensive elder abuse prosecution team in Department of Justice history. Elder financial crime specialists provided expertise. Inheritance fraud investigators contributed evidence. Professional criminal enterprise prosecutors coordinated strategy. This case represents the pinnacle of elder financial abuse prosecution, Wellington announced to his team. Professional criminals with sophisticated methodology. Systematic coordination for inheritance theft. Expert victim who documented comprehensive evidence. The evidence room contained 37 boxes of criminal proof. Digital recordings of criminal planning sessions. Video surveillance of fraud attempts. Photographic documentation of forged documents. Audio evidence of explicit criminal confessions. FBI Special Agent Sarah Martinez coordinated evidence presentation. 68 hours of recorded criminal coordination. 123 documented fraud attempts. 47 forged legal documents. Complete admission of systematic inheritance theft. My expert testimony preparation was exhaustive. 38 years of elder abuse investigation. Professional expertise in inheritance fraud detection. Federal training program development. Hundreds of successful prosecutions. Dr. Whitmore's testimony will provide comprehensive explanation of defendant criminal methodology, Wellington continued. Professional analysis of systematic fraud techniques. Expert identification of criminal coordination patterns. Federal court presentation of evidence analysis. The grand jury indictment was handed down with unprecedented scope. 23 federal charges against Michael Whitmore. 19 federal charges against Emma Whitmore. Conspiracy charges, linking both defendants. Enhanced penalties for professional criminal enterprise. Michael faced life imprisonment without parole possibility. Multiple elder abuse convictions carried mandatory minimums. Professional license abuse triggered enhanced sentences. Attorney credential exploitation increased penalty calculations. Emma confronted 65 years in federal prison. Banking fraud convictions multiplied systematically. Financial crime expertise enhanced sentences. Professional credential abuse increased penalties. Youth provided no mitigation for sophisticated crimes. Their defense attorneys faced impossible challenges. Evidence quality was overwhelming and irrefutable. Criminal admissions were explicit and damning. Federal resources were unlimited and coordinated. Expert testimony was unshakable and comprehensive. Public defender Marcus Chen represented Michael reluctantly. The evidence against my client is substantial. Federal prosecutors have comprehensive documentation. Criminal admissions were explicitly recorded. Defense options are extremely limited. Antes. Court-appointed attorney Lisa Rodriguez faced similar challenges with Emma. My client's recorded statements constitute complete criminal confessions. Banking fraud evidence is overwhelming. Professional methodology proves sophisticated criminal intent. Mitigation possibilities are minimal. The pre-trial detention hearing revealed the scope of their criminal exposure. Flight risk was substantial due to international financial planning. Community safety required protective isolation. Evidence preservation demanded separation from potential witnesses. Federal Judge Patricia Morrison presided with appropriate gravity. The defendants face charges of systematic elder financial abuse, professional criminal enterprise involving vulnerable victim targeting. Evidence suggests comprehensive criminal planning and sophisticated execution methodology. Bond was denied unanimously. The nature of the charges and evidence quality indicate substantial flight risk. International asset transfer planning suggests escape preparation. Community safety requires continued detention pending trial. Asset forfeiture procedures were implemented immediately. Michael's law practice accounts were frozen completely. Emma's banking relationships were terminated permanently. Future earning potential was eliminated through criminal conviction. Total asset seizure includes real property, investment accounts, and professional equipment, announced asset forfeiture specialist Robert Kim. Estimated value exceeds $850,000 in recoverable criminal proceeds. Victim restitution will be prioritized systematically. Professional licensing boards initiated comprehensive disciplinary proceedings. California State Bar Association examined Michael's attorney credentials. Banking regulatory agencies investigated Emma's financial industry access. Educational institutions reviewed degree authenticity claims. Professional license revocation is automatic upon federal conviction, explained State Bar Disciplinary Counsel Janet Stevens. Attorney credential abuse in criminal enterprise results in permanent disbarment. Legal profession protection requires immediate exclusion. The media attention was unprecedented for elder abuse prosecution. National television networks covered federal proceedings. Legal journals analyzed prosecution methodology. Academic institutions studied criminal techniques. Victim advocacy groups celebrated federal response. This case demonstrates federal commitment to elder abuse prevention, announced Department of Justice Elder Justice Initiative Director Thomas Wilson. Professional criminals targeting vulnerable elderly victims will face maximum prosecution. Systematic coordination ensures comprehensive federal response. My consultation with federal prosecutors was extensive and detailed. Case strategy development utilized my expertise. Evidence presentation leveraged my experience. Witness testimony incorporated my knowledge. Prosecution coordination benefited from my relationships. Dr. Whitmore's involvement transforms this prosecution, Wellington explained. Expert victim testimony provides unique perspective. Professional analysis enhances evidence presentation. Federal relationships ensure resource availability. Academic credibility supports prosecution strategy. The discovery phase revealed additional criminal evidence. Computer forensics uncovered deleted criminal planning files. Cell phone analysis exposed coordination communications. Financial records documented asset transfer preparation. Social media revealed criminal intent discussions. Digital evidence provides comprehensive timeline of criminal development, reported FBI digital forensics specialist Amanda Torres. Criminal planning began 14 months before arrest. Systematic coordination intensified following stroke incident. Evidence destruction attempts were unsuccessful due to federal monitoring. International coordination prevented escape attempts. Extradition treaties eliminated foreign sanctuary options. Asset recovery procedures extended globally. Professional license recognition was revoked internationally. Criminal conviction would be recognized worldwide. Interpol coordination ensures global enforcement. explained International Criminal Cooperation Specialist David Park. Asset recovery extends to offshore accounts. Professional credential recognition is terminated internationally. Criminal conviction prevents foreign employment permanently. The prosecution strategy emphasized systematic criminal methodology, professional knowledge applied to criminal purposes, sophisticated coordination between multiple perpetrators, comprehensive planning for detection avoidance, vulnerable victim targeting for maximum exploitation. Defendants utilized professional credentials for criminal credibility, Wellington outlined. Legal expertise enabled document forgery. Banking knowledge facilitated account manipulation. Family relationships provided victim access. Professional trust created exploitation opportunities. Jury selection required extensive screening for elder abuse understanding. Potential jurors with elderly relatives were questioned carefully. Professional backgrounds were examined thoroughly. Financial industry experience was considered relevant. Legal education was evaluated systematically. Jury composition must understand sophisticated criminal methodology, explained jury consultant Dr. Maria Rodriguez. Professional criminal enterprise requires educated evaluation. Elder abuse implications need careful consideration. Victim vulnerability must be comprehensively understood. The trial preparation was exhaustive and comprehensive. Witness testimony was coordinated systematically. Evidence presentation was optimized for maximum impact. Expert analysis was prepared thoroughly. Federal resources were utilized completely. This prosecution will establish federal precedent for professional elder abuse cases, Wellington announced. Systematic criminal methodology will be exposed comprehensively. Professional credential abuse will be prosecuted maximally. Elder victim protection will be demonstrated effectively. My testimony preparation included detailed criminal analysis, professional methodology explanation for jury education, evidence interpretation for criminal understanding, federal prosecution support for maximum conviction, expert credibility for sentence enhancement. Dr. Whitmore's testimony will anchor the prosecution case, Wellington continued. Professional expertise provides criminal methodology analysis. Federal experience supports evidence interpretation. Academic credibility enhances jury persuasion. Victim impact demonstrates criminal consequences. The opening statements revealed prosecution confidence. Evidence quality exceeded conviction requirements. Criminal admissions eliminated reasonable doubt. Professional methodology proved sophisticated intent. Federal resources guaranteed comprehensive presentation. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Wellington began powerfully. You will hear evidence of the most sophisticated elder financial abuse in federal court history. Professional criminals targeting the nation's leading expert in detecting their exact criminal methodology. The defense opening statements were weak and unconvincing. Evidence challenges were minimal and ineffective. Criminal admission explanations were implausible and desperate. Professional methodology justifications were inadequate and damaging. My client made poor decisions during family crisis, Chen argued weakly. Financial pressure created desperate circumstances. Professional knowledge was misapplied inappropriately. Criminal intent was not explicitly demonstrated. The prosecution evidence presentation was devastating and comprehensive. Digital recordings played complete criminal confessions. Video surveillance demonstrated systematic fraud attempts. Photographic evidence revealed forged document creation. Audio recordings captured explicit criminal coordination. You will hear defendants planning systematic inheritance theft, Wellington announced. 68 hours of recorded criminal coordination. Explicit admission of document forgery. Detailed discussion of banking manipulation. Complete confession of elder abuse intent. My expert testimony lasted 3 full days. Professional background was established comprehensively. Criminal methodology was explained systematically. Evidence analysis was presented thoroughly. Federal prosecution experience was demonstrated conclusively. Dr. Whitmore, please explain your professional background for the jury, Wellington began. I spent 38 years investigating elder financial abuse, I testified clearly. Chief Legal Counsel for California Department of Aging. Federal Consultant for Inheritance Fraud Detection. Expert witness in over 400 criminal prosecutions. Did defendants' criminal methodology match patterns from your professional experience? Their techniques were textbook examples of sophisticated inheritance fraud, document forgery methods from organized crime investigations, banking manipulation techniques from professional criminal networks, family coordination patterns from systematic exploitation schemes. The defense cross-examination was ineffective and damaging. Attempts to challenge my expertise failed completely. Questions about my cognitive abilities were answered definitively. Suggestions of confusion were refuted professionally. Dr. Whitmore, didn't your stroke affect your ability to understand defendants' intentions? Chen asked desperately. My stroke recovery was complete months before their criminal activity escalated, I responded firmly. Medical documentation confirms full cognitive restoration. Professional capabilities were never impaired. Federal consultation continued throughout recovery period. The digital evidence presentation was overwhelming. FBI technical specialists explained recording quality. Video enhancement demonstrated clear criminal activity. Audio analysis confirmed voice identification. Computer forensics revealed deleted criminal planning. Enhanced audio clearly captures defendant Michael stating explicit criminal intent, testified FBI audio specialist Jennifer Hayes. Quote, "Will modify the beneficiary designations for tax efficiency. Executor responsibilities will be transferred to family management. This constitutes clear admission of inheritance fraud." The document analysis was comprehensive and damning. Forensic handwriting experts confirmed signature forgery. Paper analysis revealed document fabrication. Ink testing proved recent creation. Authentication procedures exposed fraud attempts. Microscopic analysis reveals systematic signature forgery, testified FBI document specialist Robert Chang. Pressure patterns inconsistent with authentic signing. Ink composition different from historical samples. Paper aging artificially accelerated. Professional forgery equipment utilized. The financial evidence demonstrated sophisticated criminal planning. Banking records revealed unauthorized access attempts. Investment analysis showed asset transfer preparation. Account monitoring documented manipulation efforts. Money trail exposed criminal proceeds. Defendants researched international asset transfer mechanisms, testified FBI financial analyst Patricia Lee. Offshore account establishment procedures were studied. Money laundering techniques were investigated. Asset protection strategies were planned systematically. The prosecution's case was built methodically and comprehensively. Each witness strengthened criminal evidence. Every exhibit proved systematic fraud. All testimony supported federal charges. Complete presentation eliminated reasonable doubt. The evidence demonstrates professional criminal enterprise, Wellington summarized. Systematic coordination for inheritance theft. Sophisticated methodology for detection avoidance. Professional credentials exploited for criminal purposes. Elder victim targeted for financial exploitation. The defense case was minimal and ineffective. Character witnesses were few and unconvincing. Expert testimony was absent and unavailable. Evidence challenges were unsuccessful and damaging. Alternative explanations were implausible and rejected. Defendants made poor choices during financial crisis, Chen argued weakly. Desperation led to inappropriate decisions. Professional knowledge was misapplied carelessly. Criminal intent was not definitively proven. The jury deliberation was brief and decisive. Evidence quality left no reasonable doubt. Criminal admissions were explicit and clear. Professional methodology proved sophisticated intent. Federal prosecution was comprehensive and convincing. We, the jury, find defendant Michael Whitmore guilty on all 23 federal charges, announced jury foreman Dr. Susan Martinez. Elder financial abuse, inheritance fraud, conspiracy, and professional criminal enterprise. We, the jury, find defendant Emma Whitmore guilty on all 19 federal charges, the foreman continued. Banking fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, and systematic financial exploitation. The conviction was unanimous and decisive. No juror voted for acquittal. All charges were sustained completely. Federal prosecution was validated thoroughly. Justice was served comprehensively. The sentencing hearing revealed the scope of federal penalties. Michael faced life imprisonment without parole. Emma confronted 65 years in federal prison. Both defendants received maximum sentences. Appeals were futile and denied. The defendants utilized professional knowledge for criminal purposes, Judge Morrison announced. Systematic elder abuse targeting vulnerable victim. Sophisticated methodology proving criminal enterprise. Federal guidelines require maximum sentences. Michael received life imprisonment plus 30 years. Consecutive sentences for each conviction. No possibility of parole consideration. Professional enhancement penalties applied. Elder abuse victim targeting increased punishment. Emma was sentenced to 65 years in federal prison. Consecutive terms for banking fraud. Professional credential abuse enhancements. Youth provided no sentence mitigation. Federal guidelines required maximum punishment. Asset forfeiture was complete and comprehensive. Total seizure of criminal proceeds. Victim restitution prioritized systematically. Future earnings garnished permanently. Financial recovery was impossible forever. Defendants will forfeit all assets acquired through criminal enterprise, Judge Morrison continued. Professional licenses revoked permanently. Future employment prohibited in relevant industries. Financial recovery eliminated completely. Professional consequences were devastating and permanent. Michael's disbarment was immediate and final. Emma's banking industry prohibition was comprehensive. Educational credentials were invalidated completely. Career prospects were eliminated forever. Professional credential abuse and elder financial abuse results in permanent exclusion, announced State Bar President Dr. Rachel Kim. Legal profession protection requires lifetime disbarment. Public trust demands comprehensive accountability. The appeals process was futile and unsuccessful. Evidence quality was overwhelming and irrefutable. Criminal admissions eliminated appellate challenges. Federal prosecution was comprehensive and unshakable. Convictions were affirmed unanimously. Defendants' appeals lack merit and legal foundation, ruled Circuit Court Judge Thomas Anderson. Evidence supports conviction completely. Sentencing was appropriate and justified. Federal prosecution was exemplary and professional. The case became federal precedent for elder abuse prosecution. Law enforcement training programs utilized their methodology. Academic institutions studied their criminal techniques. Professional organizations analyzed their coordination. Legal precedent was established permanently. This prosecution demonstrates federal commitment to elder protection, announced Attorney General Patricia Williams. Professional criminals targeting vulnerable elderly victims will face maximum federal response. Systematic coordination ensures comprehensive prosecution. The deterrent effect was substantial and immediate. Professional inheritance fraud decreased significantly. Elder abuse reporting increased dramatically. Family exploitation was discouraged effectively. Victim protection was enhanced systematically. Whitmore prosecution created powerful deterrent for professional elder abuse, reported Elder Justice Coalition Director Dr. Jennifer Martinez. Criminal professionals now understand federal response capabilities. Sophisticated methodology cannot avoid detection. Expert victims provide prosecution advantages. My continued consultation with federal agencies expanded significantly. Training program development utilized case experience. Investigation methodology incorporated prosecution lessons. Expert testimony standards were enhanced systematically. Federal coordination was improved permanently. Dr. Whitmore's involvement transformed federal elder abuse prosecution, Wellington concluded. Expert victim testimony provided unique advantages. Professional analysis enhanced evidence presentation. Federal relationships ensured resource availability. Academic credibility supported maximum sentences. The international impact was significant and lasting. Global law enforcement studied prosecution methodology. International cooperation was enhanced systematically. Professional crime prevention was improved globally. Elder protection was strengthened worldwide. Whitmore case provides international model for elder abuse prosecution, announced Interpol Elder Crime Coordinator Dr. Maria Santos. Professional criminal methodology was exposed comprehensively. Federal prosecution techniques were demonstrated effectively. Global coordination was enhanced permanently. Michael and Emma began serving their federal sentences immediately. Maximum security imprisonment was mandatory. Protective custody was required for safety. Federal supervision was comprehensive and permanent. Release possibility was eliminated completely. Hess. Their families faced devastating social consequences. Extended relatives terminated relationships. Professional associations were severed permanently. Community standing was destroyed completely. Social rehabilitation was impossible forever. The civil litigation was comprehensive and successful. Victim restitution was prioritized systematically. Asset recovery exceeded initial estimates. Financial penalties were substantial and permanent. Economic justice was served completely. Civil asset forfeiture recovered $1.2 million in victim compensation. Announced Civil Asset Forfeiture Coordinator Dr. Robert Kim. Criminal proceeds were traced systematically. International accounts were located successfully. Victim restoration was prioritized completely. The case study became academic curriculum standard. Law schools taught prosecution methodology. Criminal justice programs analyzed coordination techniques. Elder care institutions studied prevention strategies. Professional organizations developed protection protocols. Whitmore prosecution provides comprehensive education in elder abuse prevention, announced American Bar Association Elder Law Section Chair Dr. Lisa Rodriguez. Professional methodology was exposed systematically. Federal coordination was demonstrated effectively. Victim protection was enhanced permanently. The cosmic justice was complete and perfect. Professional criminals had encountered professional prosecutor. Elder abuse perpetrators had faced elder protection advocate. Inheritance fraud experts had met inheritance fraud detection specialist. Their systematic criminal enterprise had encountered systematic criminal justice. Professional expertise had met superior professional expertise. Criminal methodology had faced superior detection methodology. Family exploitation had confronted federal prosecution. The expert they tried to deceive had become the prosecutor who destroyed them. The victim they tried to exploit had become the witness who convicted them. The elderly woman they tried to manipulate had become the force of justice that imprisoned them. Justice was served with the precision that only comes when criminals target the exact expert, whose life's work has been dedicated to their detection, prosecution, and punishment. The cosmic irony was perfect and devastating. Their inheritance fraud had become their life sentence. Their family exploitation had become their federal conviction. Their professional crime had become their complete destruction. The systematic inheritance fraud had encountered the most sophisticated criminal justice response in federal law enforcement history. Their professional expertise had met superior professional expertise. Their crime had met perfect justice. Federal justice had been unleashed with devastating precision. The hunters had become the hunted. The predators had become the prey. The criminals had become the convicted. Justice was complete, permanent, and perfectly ironic. Their confidence had become their conviction. Their crime had become their justice. Their expertise had become their destruction. 5 years have passed since Michael and Emma began serving their federal sentences. The cosmic justice that destroyed their lives continues to reverberate through the legal community. Their case remains the gold standard for elder abuse prosecution. Michael sits in his maximum security federal prison cell. Life imprisonment stretches endlessly before him. No possibility of parole, no hope of freedom, no chance of redemption. His legal career is a distant memory. The federal penitentiary in Colorado houses the worst financial criminals. Michael's fellow inmates include investment fraudsters and banking conspirators. Professional criminals who targeted vulnerable victims. None of them attempted inheritance fraud against the leading expert. His days are identical and monotonous. Morning count at 6 a.m., breakfast in the prison cafeteria, work assignment in the prison laundry, lunch at noon, afternoon in his cell, dinner at 5 p.m., lights out at 10 p.m. The legal appeals have been exhausted completely. Circuit Court denied his petition unanimously. Supreme Court refused to hear his case. Federal habeas corpus was rejected immediately. Every legal avenue has been closed permanently. His disbarment from the California State Bar was swift and final. Professional colleagues disavowed any association. Former clients sued for malpractice damages. Morrison & Associates law firm collapsed within months. Legal reputation was destroyed completely. The prison library contains law books that mock his former profession. Federal criminal procedure manuals explain his conviction. Elder abuse prosecution guidelines detail his crimes. Legal ethics textbooks cite his case as professional misconduct. He writes letters to family members who never respond. His sister Jennifer in Portland refuses all contact. His brother David in Chicago changed his phone number. Extended relatives act like he never existed. Social death accompanied legal destruction. Michael's children have changed their last names. Professional embarrassment drove complete family separation. Educational opportunities were limited by criminal association. Career prospects were damaged by family connection. Generational consequences continue expanding. Causation. The financial devastation was comprehensive and permanent. Every asset was seized through forfeiture procedures. Retirement accounts were emptied for victim restitution. Real estate holdings were liquidated systematically. Future earnings remain garnished forever. Emma serves her sentence at the federal women's prison in Texas. 65 years feels like multiple lifetimes. Her youth provides no comfort in federal custody. Banking career dreams have become prison nightmares. The minimum security designation offers little consolation. Federal supervision remains comprehensive and restrictive. Movement is monitored constantly. Communications are recorded systematically. Privacy has been eliminated completely. Her daily routine includes prison work assignments. Kitchen duty serves 3,000 meals daily. Laundry services process institutional clothing. Library assistance helps other inmates. Education programs provide basic literacy. The banking industry has blacklisted her permanently. Professional associations revoked membership immediately. Financial credentials were terminated completely. Future employment opportunities were eliminated forever. Career prospects died with conviction. College classmates avoid any association. Social media profiles were deleted immediately. Professional networks expelled her systematically. Academic achievements became criminal liabilities. Educational investment was wasted completely. Her student loan debt continues accumulating interest. Federal conviction provides no discharge possibility. Financial obligations grow while earning capacity remains zero. Economic burden will extend beyond prison release. Financial destruction is permanent and irreversible. The prison counseling programs address family betrayal issues. Elder abuse victims suffered devastating emotional trauma. Professional exploitation destroys trust permanently. Criminal children create lasting psychological damage. Therapeutic recovery requires lifetime commitment. Her correspondence with outside contacts has ceased completely. Former friends refuse any communication. Romantic relationships were terminated immediately. Professional contacts disappeared overnight. Social isolation is complete and permanent. Emma's release date in 2089 seems impossibly distant. She will be 87 years old if she survives. Physical health will be compromised severely. Mental capabilities may be diminished significantly. Life outside prison will be unfamiliar and challenging. The case continues to impact legal education nationally. Law schools teach Whitmore prosecution as required curriculum. Criminal justice programs analyze federal coordination techniques. Elder law courses examine victim protection strategies. Professional ethics classes study credential abuse. FBI training academies use their surveillance recordings. Audio evidence demonstrates criminal coordination perfectly. Video documentation shows systematic fraud attempts. Digital evidence proves professional criminal enterprise. Educational value continues expanding annually. Federal prosecutors cite Whitmore precedent regularly. Elder abuse sentencing guidelines reference their case. Professional criminal enhancement penalties follow their model. Family exploitation aggravation factors use their standard. Maximum sentence justification relies on their example. The deterrent effect has been substantial and measurable. Professional inheritance fraud decreased by 73%. Elder abuse reporting increased dramatically nationwide. Family exploitation cases receive enhanced prosecution. Victim protection resources were expanded significantly. Academic research validates the prosecution impact. Professional criminals avoid elder targeting systematically. Sophisticated methodology cannot guarantee detection avoidance. Expert victims provide prosecution advantages. Federal coordination ensures comprehensive response. My continued work in elder protection has expanded globally. International consultation requests arrive weekly. Federal training programs utilize my experience. Academic institutions seek research collaboration. Victim advocacy groups request expert guidance. The Whitmore Foundation for Elder Protection was established using forfeited assets. Victim assistance programs receive systematic funding. Legal advocacy services are provided freely. Educational initiatives promote awareness nationally. Research grants support prevention development. Professional associations have strengthened ethical requirements. Bar associations enhanced background investigations. Banking industry improved security protocols. Educational institutions increased fraud prevention. Regulatory agencies expanded oversight systematically. The cosmic irony remains perfectly intact. Professional criminals targeted the exact expert whose life work defeated their methodology. Inheritance fraud specialists were prosecuted by the Inheritance Fraud Detection Specialist. Elder abuse perpetrators were convicted by the Elder Protection Advocate. Their sophisticated criminal enterprise encountered the most sophisticated criminal justice response. Professional expertise met superior professional expertise. Criminal methodology faced superior detection methodology. Family exploitation confronted federal prosecution authority. The psychological analysis of their case reveals criminal arrogance. Professional credentials created false sense of immunity. Family relationships provided misplaced confidence. Victim vulnerability seemed to guarantee success. Expert knowledge appeared to ensure detection avoidance. But criminal arrogance met professional expertise. False immunity encountered real accountability. Misplaced confidence faced accurate assessment. Guaranteed success became certain failure. Detection avoidance resulted in comprehensive exposure. The family relationships they exploited were destroyed permanently. Trust was violated through systematic betrayal. Love was corrupted by criminal greed. Support was transformed into victimization. Care was converted into exploitation. Corman, Paschal. Their children face lifelong consequences from criminal parents. Social stigma affects educational opportunities. Professional advancement is limited by family history. Romantic relationships suffer from criminal association. Generational trauma continues expanding systematically. The extended family impact was devastating and permanent. Holiday celebrations were destroyed forever. Family gatherings became impossible. Traditional relationships were severed completely. Social connections were eliminated systematically. Community reputation was annihilated permanently. Professional standing was destroyed completely. Social relationships were terminated immediately. Public trust was violated irreparably. Local connections were severed forever. The media attention continues annually on case anniversaries. Elder abuse awareness campaigns reference their prosecution. Professional crime prevention initiatives use their example. Federal law enforcement celebrates their conviction. Victim advocacy groups promote their destruction. Documentary filmmakers have requested case access. Academic researchers study their criminal methodology. Legal journalists analyze prosecution techniques. True crime podcasts examine their coordination. Educational programs utilize their example. Magovosox, the financial impact extends beyond immediate victims. Healthcare costs for elder abuse treatment increased. Legal system resources for prosecution expanded. Social services for victim support grew. Economic consequences continue compounding annually. Their case influenced federal legislation significantly. Elder abuse penalties were enhanced systematically. Professional criminal enterprise definitions were expanded. Family exploitation aggravation factors were strengthened. Victim protection resources were increased substantially. International treaties addressing elder abuse reference their prosecution. Global coordination mechanisms were improved. Cross-border enforcement was enhanced. Professional crime prevention was strengthened. Worldwide victim protection was expanded. Scientific research their case generated continues expanding. Criminal psychology studies analyze their coordination. Professional crime methodology is examined systematically. Family exploitation patterns are documented comprehensively. Victim recovery processes are studied thoroughly. Law enforcement academies worldwide study their investigation. Surveillance techniques were demonstrated effectively. Evidence collection was accomplished comprehensively. Federal coordination was executed perfectly. Prosecution preparation was optimized completely. Their legacy is criminal destruction and victim protection. Professional criminals understand federal response capabilities. Elder abuse perpetrators fear comprehensive prosecution. Family exploiters recognize expert victim dangers. Criminal enterprises avoid sophisticated targets. The cosmic justice was mathematically perfect. Professional criminals versus professional prosecutor. Family exploiters versus family protector. Inheritance thieves versus inheritance defender. Elder abusers versus elder advocate. Their confidence became their conviction. Their crime became their justice. Their expertise became their destruction. Their family position became their aggravation. Justice was served with precision that only occurs when criminals target the exact expert whose entire career was dedicated to their detection, prosecution, and permanent destruction. The irony was perfect and devastating. Their systematic inheritance fraud encountered systematic criminal justice. Their professional crime met professional prosecution. Their family betrayal faced federal accountability. Their criminal enterprise was annihilated completely. The expert they tried to deceive became the prosecutor who destroyed them. The victim they attempted to exploit became the witness who convicted them. The elderly woman they tried to manipulate became the force of justice that imprisoned them forever. Michael and Emma's story serves as the ultimate warning. Professional criminals are not immune from prosecution. Sophisticated methodology cannot guarantee success. Expert victims provide prosecution advantages. Family relationships increase criminal penalties. Federal justice was unleashed with devastating precision. The hunters became the hunted. The predators became the prey. The criminals became the convicted. The exploiters became the imprisoned. Their inheritance fraud became their life sentences. Their family exploitation became their federal convictions. Their professional crimes became their complete destruction. Their systematic scheme became their systematic defeat. Justice was complete, permanent, and perfectly ironic. Crime met consequence. Exploitation faced accountability. Professional criminals encountered professional justice. The cosmic balance was restored permanently. The final lesson echoes through legal history. Target the wrong expert. Face expert consequences. Exploit family relationships. Destroy family forever. Use professional knowledge for crime. Lose profession permanently. Attempt systematic fraud. Encounter systematic justice. Michael and Emma learned this lesson too late. Their lives were destroyed. Their freedom was eliminated. Their futures were annihilated. Their criminal enterprise became their criminal legacy. The cosmic justice was perfect and permanent. The expert defeated the amateurs. The protector destroyed the exploiters. The prosecutor conquered the criminals. Justice triumphed over exploitation completely. Their story ends where it began, with cosmic irony and professional expertise. Criminal confidence met criminal consequence. Family betrayal faced family destruction. Professional crime encountered professional justice. The reckoning was final and devastating. Justice was served with perfect precision. The cosmos had balanced the scales permanently. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us. Up next,